Hello, my name is Grace Wynura and this is Horse Pro, the channel dedicated to empowering the amateur horse enthusiast and supporting the budding professional. Before we get started on today's topic, I would ask you to do three things. Number one, hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell to become part of our community and be alerted to any new updates. Number two, hit the like button if you find any information to be of value today. And number three, please post your comments and questions below. So today we're going to deal with three things that you need to keep in mind if you want to learn to ride. These are costs, proximity, and riding school. So moving right along, costs. Most riding schools will expect a student to ride once per week for an hour-long group lesson, even though they may begin in a private one-on-one until they can learn to stop, steer, and go. They will then be integrated into a 1-hour group lesson, which is advantageous because it gives the student more time in the saddle. Now, the thing you need to keep in mind beyond the cost of each lesson individually, which you need to shop around for, is that you will be expected to pay for those lessons upfront at the beginning of the month. So you need to keep this in mind on a month-to-month basis that you will need to pay for this prior to your first lesson of the month. Number two, to do with costs, it has to do with riding equipment. You will be expected to have a helmet. Now, I encourage you to buy a new helmet from a tack shop where they can help you fit the helmet, choose the size, the style, and the shape that is most suitable to your head inside the cost faction that suits you most. Now you need to buy new because if you buy used, you do not know if that helmet has suffered any falls and whether the structural integrity is sound. The other piece of equipment that you will absolutely need to have is a riding boot with a heel or some type of boot with a heel. Now, rubber riding boots can be purchased at most tack shops, start in a very economical bracket, and a lot of young kids and adults start with these and then move on to a more expensive items such as half chaps and paddock boots, which are shorter riding boots, and a second piece of equipment called a half chap to cover your calf. And then sometimes riders will then move on to a full or tall leather boot, which is the most expensive of the three. But your riding school will tell you which is suitable for or which is in their preferred equipment list. The other things you may or may not need to purchase immediately would be riding breeches, which are comfortable pants meant for riding, gloves with which to cover your fingers so you can hold the reins a little bit more deftly, and number three, a riding crop, which is a motivational tool that a beginner rider often will need in order to supplement their leg to get a horse to motivate or go forward. But each riding school will usually provide you with a list of what equipment you absolutely have to have in order to start at their school. So please do ask them about that and then phone your tack shops so that you can see where and what you can buy used or new. But again, buy a new helmet. You can buy used equipment such as riding boots, a crop. Those items you can buy used, but please buy a new helmet. So next we move on to proximity. So proximity has to do with how far away from work, home, or school is the actual riding school that you want to attend. Beyond your hour-long lesson, you will be asked to come early and stay after the lesson in order to prepare the horse at the beginning of the lesson, which is grooming and tacking it up, and to stay after the lesson to untack it and groom it before putting it back in its box stall or out into its paddock. So along with the hour, you may be looking at 2 hours of actual time spent at the stable, plus you need to then add on your driving time to and from. So when you choose a stable or when you choose a day or a time in which you need or want to do your lesson, you need to keep this time frame in mind. So after proximity, we go to safety. And I know it sounds strange that this is the last one, but it's the most in-depth, so it's actually the one I'm choosing to do last. So how do you know a riding school is safe? Well, you should visit a few so that you can get the gist of what amenities it offers for you personally. But in terms of safety, you should go see a few. Are they neat and tidy? Is there debris on the floor? Where you actually are asked to work with the horse when tacking it up or untacking it or grooming it, can you move around the horse freely, unencumbered by any debris on the floor? Is the horse securely tied when you're doing this? These are things that you need to keep in mind, because as a novice, you don't want to get tripped up. You don't want to get have things in the way. You don't want to have to move quickly out of the way of a horse and not be able to do that. The other thing we need to think about is the riding instructor certified? Now, although certification does not guarantee that the instructor is a quality instructor, because as we know, some people are just a little bit more natural teachers and some are not. But when they are qualified with an equine body, you will know that they have passed certification to actually teach at the level that they're doing so now. And they will have covered the workload that your level is required to learn. And they will probably have done their CPR, which you should ask for, because not everyone has to, but it's a very, very good thing that they would have in order to address any accident that could occur immediately. The other thing you need to look at with an instructor is, are they present? And by this I mean not just physically, but mentally. Are they there for the entire duration of the hour, engaging the students and paying full attention? You know as well as I do, the draw today for people to be on their phones or to be easily unfocused is there. So the instructor should really try mentally and physically to give their all for the hour's lesson. When you're tacking or untacking the horse, is the instructor present during that time and supervising, or is there at least someone in the stable whose job it is to overlook and aid people in order to groom and tack up their horse, so that you're never left alone and that you're never left without supervision or help? Are rules posted or given to you about what the expectations are when you're in the stable? You need to know these things, because horses are skittish creatures. Perhaps you would like to bring your dog and the stable doesn't allow dogs. Perhaps your child is boisterous and would like to run down the stable aisleway, but this is not allowed in the stable. So you really need to ask these things. Are you asked to sign a waiver? Signing a waiver is a great thing. Horses are dangerous creatures inherently because they're skittish, or they can be. So minimizing the risk by understanding the dangers of the sport by signing a waiver is an excellent thing. It also usually indicates that the insurance quality of the riding school is above par, because insurance companies will probably have issued those waivers for the riding schools to distribute. Now, riding surface. Where are you asked to ride? Whether it's an indoor ring or an outdoor ring, this has a lot to do with climate and locale. It should be fully fenced. Horses should not be given any opportunity with the beginner to freely move outside of an enclosed space. Riders at the beginning have so much to think about. Staying inside an unspecified area isn't something that they can do. Beyond these items, we need to be thinking about the horses themselves. Do they seem placid? Are they calm? When you're grooming them, or when you see someone grooming them, are they content to allow that rider to be around them? When they're being ridden, do they seem to be very pleased to do their job and happy to stay at a level that the rider who is riding it is comfortable with? So these items are varied and very difficult sometimes for the novice to know. So I encourage you, when it comes to the safety of the riding school itself, that you go and you see a few lessons, that you watch the people tacking up and untacking the horses, that you watch a few horses in the lessons so that you understand which horse you might ride and what the expectation might be. Sometimes for small children, horses can be super intimidating. Even the smallest pony can be intimidating to a child. So you need to know that they have a placid demeanor that will encourage confidence. We could go on and delve into many more items in each of these three ideas. However, I think for any more in-depth, Please leave a question below and I'll try to get to it. But these cover the 3 items that most people ask about. So I wish you the most success in choosing your riding school. And until next time, again, this is Grace Winiura with Horse Pro.